Hey, I don't want to alarm you, but the next big Final Fantasy game, Final Fantasy 16, is releasing right around the corner, and there's a lot of stuff to know about it, so we got 10 big things. Let's dive right in, starting off with number 10. Let's talk about the icons, because this is without a doubt like seemingly the headline feature for Final Fantasy 16. It's front and center in all the marketing. This stuff is the stuff that Square Enix really wants you to see, but what is it? So the icon are Final Fantasy 16's version of the classic Final Fantasy summon, or, Esper, or Aeon, or Eidolon. Like, they're all different words for the same thing. Big, classic creatures that can be summoned to assist you in previous games. They tend to play a pretty big role in Final Fantasy stories, and it seems like this one is definitely no exception. As you play through the game, you're actually going to reach these set-piece moments where you face off against a dominant. These are one of the characters who will summon an icon, and sometimes your character will counter and start the fight by summoning an icon of their own. And these amount to being big story encounters which have multiple unique mechanics seemingly associated with them. Every icon battle is different from what we've seen, and each one will include its own gimmicks and gameplay styles, kind of interspersed with QTEs and stuff. If you played Bayonetta 3, then think about some of those set-piece moments from that game. It seems like it's similar to that. So they're not just straight-up fights, and you're doing something different in all of them. The State of Play trailer gives us the most in-depth look at these battles yet, and shows things like a 3D scrolling shooter sequence where you control the Phoenix, and a heavyweight wrestling match while controlling Ifrit. These fights look like just a big old grade A spectacle, but we have no idea how satisfying they'll actually be until we get our hands on the game. At least it looks like you'll get to face off against a good selection of these guys. From the trailers, we've spotted Phoenix, Ifrit, Shiva, Rama, Titan, Garuda, Odin, and Bahamut. That's almost all the classic summons right there, rendered in stunning next-gen graphics. At the end of that State of Play trailer, they did reveal an even more over-the-top form with the Lost Titan. This battle looks nuts, and if there are multiple of them in the game, then there's going to be a lot to look forward to here. Next, over at number 9, one seemingly disappointing detail to some that the Final Fantasy VI team has revealed is that the game is not going to be open world. Instead, the world is split up into separate zones that you can freely access from a world map. These zones are unlocked by progressing in the story, and while that might sound a little old-fashioned, some of these areas do look really, really big. The game is a mostly linear, story-driven affair, but there's still the expected side content to tackle. Like, there are side quests you can take on, talking to people in each area, or by talking to a specific NPC who will reveal all available quests to you. One thing that we were really impressed by is that the NPC doesn't just show you where open side quests are, they can also be used to instantly teleport to the quest giver. So for all of you out there who don't like excessive backtracking, this game might have you covered. And along with side quests, there's also a hunting board similar to a lot of recent Final Fantasy games where you select from a bunch of elite marks to hunt down. These are unique and difficult enemies that can be found around the world, and defeating them is going to earn you rewards. Now, from reading gameplay previews, it seems like the game starts off extremely linear for the first few hours, but eventually opens up. We don't think this is going to be like a Final Fantasy 13 situation where the game is linear for like 20 or so hours and then opens up right before like the end. Players who have previewed this game seems to think it opens up much sooner than that. And for those of you wondering, yeah, you can ride a chocobo in the game with the ability to dash and jump to make getting around easier. We knew some of you were going to ask in the comments, so yeah. Now at number 8, if there's one element of the game that's divided Final Fantasy veterans, it's this. Instead of controlling a party of characters like pretty much every Final Fantasy game up to this point, excluding the MMOs, you only get direct control of one character, the main character, Clive. Now, gameplay is entirely built around the fact that you only play as one character. Combat is closer to something like Devil May Cry than any other Final Fantasy game. Even the ones that lean closer to real time, like Final Fantasy 15 and Final Fantasy 7 Remake, play relatively slow compared to this game. And here, the combat looks fast and brutal and hard-hitting. It's a significant change that has the potential to really affect everything about the experience. It's so different, man, that it leaves some fans wondering if the game will even feel like a Final Fantasy game. This is just a preview, of course, we're just pointing out the information that's out there publicly, so we're not gonna say one way or another. You can judge from playing the demo. It does seem pretty solid so far, but one interesting wrinkle is that Even though you only ever play as Clive, you get to experience his story from 3 distinct periods in his life: as a teen, in his 20s, and again in his 30s. The story will jump around back and forth and have some time skips, and it should be pretty interesting. I mean, you rarely ever see the passage of time like this in these kinds of games. I mean, I know Final Fantasy 15 did it, but it sounds like this will be a little bit more involved. Now, next over at number 7, while you do only ever directly control the main character, that doesn't mean you don't get some help from people from time to time. On his journey, Clive can be joined by AI-controlled party members that are going to assist him. From everything that we've seen and read, I don't think these characters will fill out your traditional party member role. It just looks like they're closer to guest characters who will be with you for a while as part of the story and then leave when their part of the story is over, but that's speculation. It seems like their assistance will be situational at best. But along with these companions, you will also have Torgal, your faithful buddy. This dog isn't just here for show, he's gonna assist you in battle and even can be given limited commands to attack or heal when you need him to. Now, between combat, you can give Torgal treats for being a good boy, and it is confirmed that you can pet him. So that seems pretty good, man. Now for number 6, let's talk combat. From everything we've seen, it's clear that this game has 2 central things, like the story and the combat. Combat looks mechanically pretty deep, challenging, and hard-hitting. And while it's a major change for this more tactically minded franchise, it looks great for what it is. When it comes to fighting, there's what you expect, like combo attacks and an evade move, but the thing that makes the game stand out from other action games is how you can unlock various abilities from each icon you encounter. Each one acts as a separate style, similar to Devil May Cry, which you can cycle between with the press of a button. Each one has its own play style, its own special attacks and abilities. The Phoenix allows you to teleport around the battlefield, while the Titan is much more defense oriented. Mastering these abilities and knowing how to switch between them effectively is what combat is all about. All these abilities are found on the game's skill tree, which has Clive's abilities in the center, surrounded by smaller trees with each icon's abilities. Now, you can unlock these or upgrade them by spending ability points, which are earned from killing enemies. So these powers are actually very similar to jobs in other Final Fantasy games. It's just here you can swap between them on the fly. Now, the amount of options you eventually get does look pretty overwhelming, so there's also an option to just let the game decide how to spend skills for you, like an auto spend. It looks like it's going to be a lot of combat here, but the variety of abilities should hopefully keep things fresh. Next up at number 5, the other major focus of this game, besides the combat, it's gotta be the story. Almost every trailer revealed so far has been dedicated to it, and it looks like a pretty major departure for the series. Producers have cited the recent God of War and Game of Thrones as pretty big inspirations, and that just doesn't seem to be talk. We've seen foul language, bloody violence seems to be all over this game, along with a good hefty dose of political medieval machinations. It reminds me of something like Final Fantasy Tactics or Tactics Ogre, where the story is more violent and cynical than your typical RPG adventure, and there's a great deal of time spent on a large cast of characters and their relationships. That doesn't mean there isn't the usual Final Fantasy stuff, though. I mean, crystals play a huge part of the story, yet again. One interesting wrinkle that was revealed in the 2023 PlayStation Showcase thing is that the Fallen is a lost civilization that apparently was responsible for bringing the icon into the world, so there's definitely some lore. And Final Fantasy games really love their lost civilizations as much as their crystals, so it'll be interesting to see how these things actually factor into the narrative. Square Enix has been spoilery enough with the amount of story they've shown in the trailers, so we won't speculate any more about it here. Definitely excited to see where it all goes, though, and the more grounded approach to a Final Fantasy story has us hopeful for something fresh. Next up at number 4, let's talk difficulty option stuff, because it's interesting. When you start the game up for the first time, they give you two options for difficulty: the standard mode and a story mode. Now, in most games, selecting the difficulty affects how everything in the game works, from health values to enemy reaction time and stuff like that, but this game works a little differently. When you select story mode in Final Fantasy 16, all that happens is that the game automatically equips all the timely accessories in the game. In the gear and icons menu, where you select your loadout, you can equip various accessories that make the game easier. These are primarily in the game as assists for players who are, new to action games, and also kind of like a rudimentary form of accessibility settings. So instead of having like a dedicated accessibility or difficulty menu for this stuff, the game just gives you some magic rings that have various effects. There's 5 in total, with some tweaking the game more significantly than others. One ring makes it so you can use healing items instantly when you're about to die. Another slows down time when you're about to be hit by an enemy, while another one makes it so Clive just automatically dodges all incoming attacks, so you don't even have to press a button. Another ring makes it so you don't have to control Torgal in battle. He'll just do stuff automatically depending on the situation. So if you're struggling with the game, then you can just equip any of these rings at any time. And if you start the game in story mode and find it to be a little too easy, then you can just unequip the rings whenever you want. It's not the most elegant or obvious system, so hopefully this explained it, kind of. We'll see how it goes though. Now, down at number 3, after getting through the opening hours of the game, you eventually unlock a hub area called Cid's Hideout, which includes a lot of amenities to help you in your adventure. And yeah, the place is run by the eponymous Cid, the scientist engineer that shows up in pretty much every Final Fantasy game. He's voiced here by Game of Thrones actor Ralph Ineson and acts as a mentor to Clive. The game says his full name is Cidolphus, but we'll stick with Cid. In this area, you can access pretty much everything you need. There's a store to buy weapons, armor, and consumable items like potions, a blacksmith that can craft gear and upgrade existing equipment, and also this thing called the Arit Stone, which takes you to a training room. In training, you can mess with various parameters and practice combos, and there's also this arcade mode where you can test out your abilities. It even has its own online leaderboard. Now, one interesting detail we spotted is that it looks like Cid's ship won't be going airborne. We see a souped up boat, but this ship isn't flying. I guess airships have no place in the more grounded setting of Final Fantasy 16, or they're saving some secrets for us. I don't know, but that's what you can expect. Now, down at number 2, speaking of expected things, let's talk about the expected game length. One thing that is very reassuring about this is that it seems like the developers are trying to stay honest and not overpromise on what the game will be. They've been fairly straight about all the features in the game up to this point, and have even come out and said how long it's going to be. So according to game director Hiroshi Takai and producer Naoki Yoshida, they expect it'll take most players around 35 hours to finish the base game, and double that to around 70-80-ish for players going for 100% completion. So in an age of bloated open worlds and RPGs, the average playtime of something like Persona 5 is 100 hours easily. The expected playtime here actually sounds a bit refreshing. If that number is actually accurate, we have no idea. We'll have to wait for reviews, but it seems likely just from everything we've seen so far. Now, down to number 1, of course, the housekeeping. Final Fantasy 16 is dropping June 22nd, 2023, exclusively for PS5. There is no PlayStation 4 version planned, and this game is next-gen only. That PlayStation exclusivity is disappointing for Xbox and PC players who want to play this, but there is a silver lining. The exclusivity deal ends on December 31st, 2023, so it's only going to be exclusive for like a 6-month window. Unfortunately, that doesn't mean the game will get ported over to other platforms like in 6 months. Producer Yoshida has directly addressed this and said that while the deal is up in 6 months, there will not be a PC version released right away. Remember, it took Final Fantasy 15 like 2 years to come to PC, and Final Fantasy 7 Remake wasn't much better. Hopefully Xbox and PC players won't have to wait that long to play the game, but I think it's safe to assume that the game will be appearing on other platforms eventually. It's just up to Square Enix to decide when they will though. Now, as usual with these types of things, there's a lot of versions to pick up. The standard version is retailing for the newer high price of $70 in the United States, with pre-order bonuses, including accessories that boost your XP and gil. There's a $100 deluxe edition that just adds a cloth map and a steelbook case, and the beastly $350 collector's edition with a big Ifrit statue, some pins, and an actual, honest-to-God, physical copy of the game. Not that many collector's editions do that anymore for some reason. So just to round this out, if you don't know, we mentioned it before, there's also a demo currently available for the game that came out June 12th, where you can play the start of the game and your save file will apparently transfer over to the main game, which is always appreciated. But that's it. That's the stuff you got to know before jumping into the game. That was a lot. So let us know in the comments what you think about Final Fantasy 16. If you've jumped into the demo, would love to hear your first impressions, but also your expectations for the main game. Anything at all. If you like what we're doing here, how we just talk about games every single day, we got a video for you. Clicking the like button helps us. Thank you very much. But that's it. Have a great day. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you guys next time.